What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So the highly anticipated Q3 numbers are out. I want to go over what they are, how that aligns with their end goals, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, in case you missed it, they put it out at 4:05, and they did produce 3,891 vehicles, with more than 1,000 additional vehicles built for Saudi Arabia for final assembly. And then Lucid also did deliver 4,078 vehicles during that same period. So definitely good to see them getting rid of some inventory. Aside from that, for the 9 months ending September 30th, they did produce 9,966. They also did deliver 10,496. So they didn't change their estimates, so still sticking between that 18 to 20. So again, that's something that people were really waiting for, to see if they were going to kind of double down on that, and they did. So that's kind of a positive. Date of their earnings is November 5th, 2025 after hours. So ultimately, plugging all those numbers into the handy dandy document right here, so the Excel document, you can kind of see that the totals match. So good to see that they're on point for that, and good to see, like I said, that they are getting rid of inventory. I did not include that 1,000 or additional 1,000 vehicles in the produced, so I'm keeping it at 3,891, only because when they are actually completed and fully built out of Saudi Arabia, so AMP2, they will count that as produced. So I don't want to double count. So again, I'm not including that, and most likely that's why Lucid as well did separate them on a side note. But aside from that, so I think the moral of the story is there's different ways how to interpret this. So this was the highest amount of produced that they've ever done. Previous quarter was 3,863. This one was 3,891. Again, not counting that 1,000. That's going to Saudi Arabia and AMP2. So at the end of the day, there's, like I said, different ways how to interpret this. So definitely hitting another milestone is good, but most likely they will be falling a little bit short. So I think this is where, again, I could be wrong, but they do need to really kick ass. And historically, looking at Q3 going into Q4 in 2022, same for 2023 and also 2024, they somehow magically gather enough strength just to ramp up like crazy. Usually causes a little bit more of a, I guess, inventory lag for the most part. So they do always increase the inventory, so there's always not sufficient amount of demand for that. So you can always see based on this right here, in 2022 inventory rose by 1561, 656 in 2023, and then 287 in 2024. So when it comes down to it, they do increase about 40%. That seems to be their max, and they did that in 2024. So realistically, if we pop over here and say, take this times by 40%, let's say they can somehow muster the strength to do that, that'll put us at 5,447, not counting the 0.4, which will put us at 15,000. So let's say they can even ramp up, let's say, to a 60% increase. That puts us at 16,192. In my opinion, I do not think that is achievable. So, might be unpopular opinion. I think Wall Street analysts might give good ratings for them hitting their, I guess, all-time high produced in one quarter, but a lot of them won't really be satisfied with the overall number. So I do feel that they will miss by the end of the year, unless they hire like Harry Potter or something that can just do some crazy magic. But even if they do, let's say for whatever reason they can do about 10,000, which will put us just shy of around 20,000 overall, that is going to make a massive amount of inventory, and technically we won't have sufficient amount of buyers. History does show that. So I guess there's different ways how to interpret that. Like I've stated in the past, it's one thing just being able to produce a certain amount, but Wall Street always looks at this column as well. If you are having sufficient amount of inventory, if you are delivering, like, it's one thing, anyone can just produce 1 million vehicles, but do you have buyers for everyone? So I think in general, even if we do and somehow are able to get 10,000 out, or even let's say 9,000 for instance, 9,000 out in Q4, that is going to most likely add probably a good 2,000, 3,000 in inventory of increase in lag. So that's just my own opinion, of course. I know the Gravity Touring, based on the price point, that should really fill the gap and be able to kind of have a lot of demand for that. But we have not really heard anything about when that truly is going to be unveiled. I know they did launch or unveil it technically in Europe, but there's been nothing for AMP1 in North America. So in my opinion, I do feel that Wall Street, you're going to see mixed feelings on these numbers. Some, like I said, are going to be fairly optimistic that they did hit good numbers, but most of them will be fairly bearish only because they will miss their year-end target. And no different than what happened with Rivian. We all saw that it went down about 7-8% in one day, and that's because they didn't hit their, and Wall Street doesn't think that they will hit their targets. So at the end of the day, I could be wrong. I really hope that they just kick ass and just somehow ramp up beyond belief. But I think realistically, they will be missing on their end goal. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. What's your viewpoint on this? Like I said, going into these numbers, I think 5,500 was going to be a key pivot. Anything above that, market was going to be seen as and take it as a positive. Anything below that, market was going to pretty much not really like it. So us coming at 38.91, not necessarily the best. And again, I'm not counting that 1,000 that's going to AMP2 because that will be later counted as officially produced. So to avoid double counting. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.